Hi everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Today we're going to look at replacing the starter rope and recoil spring and all that jazz on the Homelite XL, Super 2, XL-2 plastic housing, metal housing, doesn't matter, they're all about the same. Got a customer that bought a bunch of parts and he's as he put it, I believe a novice at working on these, so I thought I'd do a quick video to show him how everything goes together. So this particular starter housing is with a saw that I got that it was just missing the recoil spring, so that's probably why it's apart, was it needed a new recoil spring. So I needed to do this anyway. So this is a metal housing, and there's two different, I'm going to get this out of here. First thing I'm going to assume with just about every replacement of a recoil spring is that you're not going to try and reuse the rope. That is false economy. If you have to, I guess you have to, but rope's cheap. So here's the old one, and you can see this one was also pretty damn short. So we're going to do some upgrades here. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the type of recoil spring that you need to use. So look down, if I can get this to focus with some good enough light. Alright, this is going to be harder than I thought. Down here, there is a recessed area for a spring hook to go into. So this is the old style spring. This requires you to use the 69-217 spring. Looks like this. See, it has a hook on the end. Later model plastic housings for all the 180, 192, even the later XLs and Super 2s, they've got a round pin down there that requires this containerized style spring. But the two are not interchangeable, so you need to determine what it is you need beforehand and make sure you've got the right stuff. So I've got a replacement spring. These original pulleys have gone through a number of changes. This is the original. This is a 69-158, and it's got a super narrow channel for the rope here. You can only get one wrap of rope in there. Now, Homelite upgraded these a couple times, and the final one they stopped on is this style pulley that allows a double wrap of rope. There's plenty of room in there, and you can see how much wider the grooves are. So if you're out working in the rain and your rope swells up a little bit, it's far less likely to jam on this new style pulley. Another difference. Look at the back where it indexes the spring on this original style. It could be a real pain in the ass if your spring got out of shape to get this to reseat again. This one has two different areas where it can index in, and it's a whole lot easier to drop that into place. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Let me get this. This one didn't use a plastic washer, and the way this one is designed, I don't need to. So I've already cut myself a length of rope. I believe the manual is calling for 38 inches of rope on these. I always try and squeeze the absolute max that I can on there, because I've got long arms and I tend to pull, when I'm starting the saw, I tend to get a lot of movement on it, and I don't want to bottom out and damage the pulley. So I've burned the ends of the rope, and as usual, it's not quite small enough to go through the hole here. So just get a little blunt instrument, well, sort of blunt, and get it started and pull it the rest of the way through. Now, you don't have to get carried away on these. One knot will do, especially with the upgraded pulley. It's not going to pull out, but you want to get it pretty tight so that you don't have a bunch of extra hanging down that can get jammed up in the works. Okay. And that recesses nicely in there. It's not going to catch on the spring. So you want to hold your pulley as it would, index to the saw, and you wrap your rope the opposite way of what I'm doing. These engines run, or crank, counterclockwise. Now again, I've cut too much rope here, so I'll stop right there before this gets any more difficult. And you want to have enough. There's this index notch in the pulley there. You want to kind of wrap it through there, even if it's only a little piece, so that you can hold it with your finger. And I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get the spring in here. This does have a rivet on this outer band, so it shouldn't come flying apart, but they can if you're not careful with them. So what you want to do is get it into its slot and then just kind of compress it and push it into place. And if you catch it on the outer edge of the housing, it'll start to push coils out, which you don't want to do. That's what it should look like right there. Just sitting flat. Now if everything goes right, your next step is to get this pulley in there. You just kind of twist it until you hear it drop. Now I've got so much rope on here this doesn't want to spin. But it dropped. And what I like to give these, once it drops, get some spring tension and give it about 2 turns the direction that you're going to be starting at. Push the rope through and you can see it's recoiling. I've got too much rope on there. So, next step, get your pulley secured and keep your finger on this. When you've got spring tension, you don't want it to release. So keep your finger on there. Now, with that tight and the proper washer in there, this should move freely. If it jams up for some reason, you've either got the wrong washer, your pulley is swollen, if it's an old, or if you're using the original pulley, something is wrong. This post is designed so the pulley will sit over the spring, sit over the post, and have just a little bit of slack. That's normal. That's so that it will actually do what it's supposed to do. Alright, there's the end of my travel. There's how much rope it'll take up. So it'll fish it through your starter handle. And one step, if your rope isn't cut as long as mine, pull some out and do a half hitch like that. You'll be able to pull that out easily, but this way it's not trying to fight you as you're trying to fish this handle on. Now, these handles do have a tendency for the rubber to shrink, so if you open it up with a small screwdriver or even a drill bit before trying to get the new rope through there, it can make your life easier. Yeah, there we go. Most of these handles do have a little steel washer. Slip that in. Be another nice tight knot. I've got to take some slack out. Figure out where that is. Somewhere right about there. It's pretty good to me. Not as good as it gets. It's nice and tight. Cut the excess. Boom. And it is. Replacement and upgraded starter drum, new spring, new rope. It doesn't take a lot of time to do, and if it's your first time handling one of those recoil springs, you'll want to go slow and be careful so that it doesn't explode on you. If it does explode, you've got to wind it back into that band, which is perfectly doable, but it's easier if it doesn't come apart.